Hello, greetings, and salutations. Welcome aboard my podcast. I am Jason with Jay's Paradise Travels. I'd like to welcome you into this week's episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about my experience seeing the Miami Hurricanes. Before I get into that, though, I want to do just a little housekeeping, get it out of the way. First off, if you would like to go on vacation, specifically a cruise, which is my specialty, or perhaps you'd like to go see a game, maybe you'd like to go see the Miami Hurricanes. You can reach out to me in a couple different ways. One way is through social media. I have both an Instagram and Facebook account, and they're both the same. Jay's Paradise Travels. That is Jays. There's no apostrophe in there. Jays. Jay's Paradise Travels on both, again, Instagram and Facebook. Or if you want to reach out to me through email, I have an email address. My business account is j.paradise.travels@gmail.com. Again, that's Jay, dot paradise.travels@gmail.com. Okay, now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about my experience seeing the Miami Hurricanes. We're going back some years. This was around 2015, and right now I'm recording in 2025, so it's almost 10 years ago since I did this trip. And it was a trip that I had actually planned months in advance, which a lot of times with me, especially years ago when I was in the airline industry, and scheduling could be sometimes a little nuts, especially when I was a flight attendant. And I had flying benefits, being able to get on a plane last minute was a little bit easier to do. It was very rare that I planned something so long in advance, but in this particular weekend trip, I did. It was months before I had contacted a friend who lived down there in Miami and made the arrangements. It was really nice to be able to connect with her. Her name, actually, you know what? I'm not going to say her name. I don't. I never asked if I could. So I always like to try to ask people before if I can say their name on a podcast. But it's a friend uh, going back to like when I was a teenager. Um, so my background, my culture, I'm Greek, and as someone that my dad knew when he was young. Um, when he came over from Greece, this other fellow, he got married, had a couple kids, two girls, and around when I was a teenager time is when we would go down to Florida, meet up with them, hang out with them. So I've known, and they're around my age. They're a little younger. There's the older one and the younger one, and so we hung out with them. Knew them since I was a teenager. Friends of the family. Anyways, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I think I didn't seen her since I had gotten married, which was in 2010. Anyway, so I reached out to her because I knew she lived in the area, and she had recently, since then, got married too. And so I asked if they wanted to, first off, if I could, stay with them, if they were cool with that, which they were. And then asked if they wanted to go to the game too, and they were too. So again, months in advance, had planned this out. And I remember leading up to it, because I was working for the airlines and I was flying standby. Detroit to Miami, there wasn't a ton of flights, which I thought there would be, but there's actually more flights down to Fort Lauderdale than there is Miami. And I was kind of a little concerned because it can be kind of popular. Would I be able to get on? You do what you can to get the days off, and then if you can't make it on because all the flights are full, then you gotta eat the money that you spend on the tickets, which has happened to me before. Um, but thankfully, I was able to get on the flight there. Okay, and my friend and her sister-in-law ended up picking me up. We went over to where they live, and so they kind of lived like right with. She lived with her in-laws, but not in the same house. It was kind of like in a little apartment that was behind the house, which is where I ended up staying. They ended up letting me sleep in there, and they stayed with their family. So it was kind of cool to be able to have that place to myself at night. And it was cool to be able to see her again, as well as meet her husband for the first time. Um, Super nice family, and I've always known her for many years, so it was good to be able to see her again. Anyways, and one thing that was nice was they actually got me the shirt too, as a gift, and I ended up wearing it. And at that point, I wasn't one to wear the school or whatever the team I was seeing wear one of their shirts unless I went to one of my hometown teams and I wore a Red Wings jersey or a Tiger shirt, whatever the case may be. But usually when I went on the road and saw other teams, I never really wore their stuff. And it was just I maybe wore like their colors. That was about it. Only recently have I've been doing that more often, but mainly one of the reasons is because not only do I wear it for the game, but then I also wear it for the podcast too. This, however, had nothing to do with the podcast. This was just something that they were nice enough to get it for me, and I wore it for the game, and I kept it all these years, not knowing what I was going to do with it. It was just in my closet because I'm not a Hurricanes fan, and I don't usually once I see a team, I don't go see them again unless I'm in the area and the circumstances allow it. But I kept it. I have a hard time getting rid of something that someone gives something to me. I may not go out and buy stuff, but a lot of times if someone gives it to me, I have a hard time throwing that away because it was a gift. And you may even kind of see around a little bit. Now, there's a bunch of different stuff I have on my desk here. Um, all this stuff was pretty much all given to me. I don't really get a whole lot for my own. Even those pictures back there, my wife got it. The only thing I got were the frames to be able to put them up on the wall. But there's different uh, picture frames, football, the little bear, the Pez dispenser, the ring, the little miniature stadium, those tickets, this football, all of it was given to me as gifts, and I don't have I have a hard time getting rid of stuff. Um, anyways, and there's more that's just off camera. Anyway, so they gave me the shirt. I've kept it for years, and now years later, here I am wearing it again for the podcast. All right, so that was part of it. Being able to, I flew in on a Friday afternoon. Was able to hang out with them that day. We had dinner. I remember they went to Aldi, picked up some food. We got to eat dinner together and have breakfast the next day too. Which the game was on Saturday. It was like a noon game. Um, I think it was noon. I don't think it may have been three at the latest, but it definitely was a night game. I think it was noon. So we had breakfast together too, and then we went out to the game. Um, and then from there, uh, after the game, we came back. Got to, uh, I think we did get to go to a nice restaurant that was it Cuban food? It might have been Cuban food. I can't remember the ethnicity of it. Super delicious. And I can't remember if we did that Friday night or if that we did that Saturday night. I don't think it was Sunday night. But anyways, that was really delicious. We got to hang out, do that. Sunday, we ended up going to a Miami Dolphins game. So this was one of those weekend trips that I got to knock out two birds with one stone. I got to see the college football team and the professional football team. And in this one, it's kind of unique. Not all of them are like this, but the college team plays in the same stadium as the football team. So I went to that same building the very next day, different seats. Um, it's happened before, but it doesn't happen all the time. Um, and then Monday flew back. Very hot there too. It is Miami. Even when I went in the fall time, it's pretty hot there, but not too bad. The game. Again, I say that because I remember sitting out there just in the sun. It was us when we got there. We got to the game. I mean, bright blue skies. You had some clouds in the area, but for the most part, it was just a hot day and us in the sun. Um, but it's really nice around there. Surrounding area is nice. When we got there, I was able to uh, get there early enough where I wasn't. Sometimes I get there and it's late; they already started. But this was early enough. We saw them warming up. We saw them practicing. Got to see that the whole 9 yards with that. Was there for pregame and kickoff. Um, in the game itself, they were playing Clemson, so I was excited to see this matchup. It was an ACC matchup, and you got a story program in Miami. You had Clemson, who at the time was on the rise and doing extremely well. Like, all right, let's see a good game here. Didn't quite happen. First quarter, 21-0 Clemson. First quarter. Second quarter, 42-0 Clemson. six touchdowns in two quarters. Okay, this game is over. Yeah, pretty much. So in the first quarter, Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Watson threw like a touchdown screen pass to one of his players. I forgot how far out it was. That opened the scoring, and then a couple guys scored a couple rushing touchdowns to make it 21-0. In the second quarter, there was two more rushing touchdowns added on by Clemson, and it was like four rushing touchdowns by four different guys. One guy named Wayne Gallman, another guy named Zach Brooks, another guy named Artavis Scott, and then Deshaun Watson got one himself. Besides Deshaun Watson, I can't say I'm familiar with some of those other guys. Maybe you are. If you're a big football fan or a big Hurricanes fan, did they do anything past college? I don't know. Actually, no, I'm sorry. That would be Clemson. If you're a Clemson fan, do you know these guys? Or do they do anything in the NFL? I don't know. I know Watson did, and you may have your personal feelings on Watson because later on he did get into a little bit of trouble. But I think he's still on a team. I think he's still with the Browns as of this moment, as of this recording. Anyways, so there was all these rushing touchdowns, and then there was a pick six at the end of that too. So six touchdowns, four different rushing touchdowns, or four different players rushing for a touchdown. Watson had one thrown pass for a touchdown as well. So six touchdowns, 42-0 at halftime, and at that point, I mean, you're just like, yeah, this game's not going anywhere. But I came all the way down from Michigan to see this. So even if it's a blowout, I'm not leaving at halftime. And thankfully, my friends didn't leave either. Whether or not they wanted to or not, I can't remember, but I don't think they did. A lot of the fans did. Into the third quarter, they went just one field goal by Clemson to make it 45-0. Okay, sure. And then guess what? Two more rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Now, at this point in the fourth quarter, backups are in, and their backup was Kelly Bryant, who ended up being a really good quarterback for Clemson. He was the backup to Deshaun Watson. And then eventually from Kelly Bryant, it went to Trevor Lawrence, who also ended up being an excellent quarterback for Clemson. So they just had that string of good quarterbacks. But Kelly Bryant rushed for a couple touchdowns as well. There was an extra point that was missed on the first of his rushing touchdowns. So it ended up being a final of 58-0. Not 59-0 with eight touchdowns and a field goal, but 58-0. Clemson ended up just dominating Miami, destroying them. And when looking up the article, one of it said the worst loss ever for Miami. They cited one loss which was 70-14 to Texas A&M. So I guess that was up there with 60 something point loss, but definitely not a shutout. 58-0. And one of the biggest victories for Clemson in like 100 years. It didn't help, too, that Miami's quarterback, Brad Kaaya, who I think the Lions drafted. I don't think he did anything with him, but I think they did draft him to be like a backup to Matt Stafford some years ago. He got knocked out in the second quarter. It may have been concussion related. That didn't help either. Now, I mean, even in the second quarter, by that time, you're down at least 21-0. Where exactly he got injured, if it was 28, 35, 42-0 by that point, I don't remember. But at least 21-0. And just they weren't coming back even if he was in the game. He wasn't. Definitely didn't help. They get smoked 58-0. And the stadium that they play in is well, it's Hard Rock Stadium now. Back then it was called Sun Life Stadium, which I think Sun Life is either a bank or insurance, one of the two. Um, there's a lot of times when it's a financial institution. Sometimes financial institutions could sound like insurance, and or sometimes they're combined. So Sun Life, I think, is a bank. Anyways, when it's a bank or financial institution, I immediately lose interest in the name of the stadium. I do. Depending on what it is. I mean, some banks obviously are nationwide, like Chase, Bank of America, but then other times you get in some, I don't know, some bank that might just be local in that area, and I have no idea who or what they are. It's like, oh, okay, here's a name I've never heard of. Um, so yeah, Sun Life, but it switched over to Hard Rock Cafe. No, no, I don't think the word cafe is in there. Hard Rock Cafe. I think it's just Hard Rock Stadium. I don't think the word cafe is in the name, which I think is kind of cool. I've only been to Hard Rock Cafe maybe a couple times in my life. Myrtle Beach, when we used to go down to Myrtle Beach years ago, which I would love to do podcasts on Myrtle Beach, but that was, I mean, I was literally like anywhere between 8 to 14 years old. That's the years I went. And I didn't have any pictures to be able to show of it. Maybe one day I'll get to go back to Myrtle Beach and do a podcast on that. But anyways, when we would go down to Myrtle Beach, mainly most of the time we went to Planet Hollywood for going out to eat. One of the many places we went to, but they had Hard Rock Cafe, and I think we did go maybe once or twice. And I may have gone to another Hard Rock Cafe somewhere else in the world because there's plenty of them across the globe. Um, so I actually like the name Hard Rock Stadium better than I do Sun Life. No offense to the fine people that work at Sun Life, whatever it is that you do there, whether you're a banker or an insurance, I don't know. But just I lose a lot of interest in the name of a stadium when it becomes a financial institution or insurance or something like that. Hard Rock, I actually like it better. Not only do they change the name, but they actually improve the stadium. So now they have like this giant cable supported canopy that kind of goes around it. It's a pretty big thing. They didn't have that when I was there. It was just kind of open. Um, Now they also have like four different uh, screen monitors, whatever you want to call them, that scoreboards that are in the corners. They didn't have that when I went there either. They had, I know, one on one side. I'm trying to think, did they have one on the other side? And they did have it on both sides. Okay, so if there's a little bit of a glitch or something there, it's because I accidentally stopped rolling the camera. I can't believe I just did that. Um, and now I put it back again. So hopefully this is going out smoothly. Because I'm gonna have to work on this after I'm done recording of trying to put the two together. I should be able to. We'll see. Hopefully this is all working okay, and I don't have to re-record this entire thing. Not that I'm done, but halfway through, and I hate to have to re-record it. Okay. Anyway, so Hard Rock Cafe. No, Hard Rock Stadium. Sorry, I really it just kind of rolls off the tongue because I've always known it as Hard Rock Cafe, the restaurant. So Hard Rock Stadium. So it has that big canopy over it. They have four scoreboards in the corners. They didn't have all that when I went, which would have been cool to see. I won't lie, that would have been cool to see. Um, there's a part of me that would like to see it, but because I have so many stadiums to see, um, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to re-go just to see it. Now, if I'm in the area, let's say I'm on a cruise and I come back or right before I leave for one, there's a game going on. Yes, I would probably like to go see it again if I'm in that area and they're playing. But to go purposely down to Miami just to see the stadium just renovated, so to speak, I'm not gonna do that. The capacity at Hard Rock is 65,326. Now, according to what I looked up, the attendance for the Miami game that I went and saw was 45,211. I don't think so. That place was not very full at all, which I was surprised too. Not very full at all. And of course, obviously by them getting blown out, the crowd lessened even at that point. But even prior to that, it wasn't full. There was quite a few Clemson fans there as well. Again, I was kind of surprised, and I say that because Miami does have a pretty decent history. Um, they they've won some national championships in their time. I guess you could say their history was kind of their heyday was in like the 80s into the 90s, and then a little bit in the early 2000s. So they've won national titles in, let's see, I wrote down 83, 87, 89. So there's three in the 80 spans. There was one in 91, and then again in '01, and almost won it in '02. They were playing Ohio State in '02. They lost that game in overtime. Um, And but during up until that point, I mean, they were just on a dominating win streak that I don't know if that was like the record or if anyone's even come close to being like that since then. And so when I was a teenager growing up and really was getting into college football and seeing Miami and that those that that name, the uniform, the helmet, all of it, it impressed on me just like this imposing football team because they were so dominant back then. Had almost won a national title there. Um, so in my mind, I'm thinking this is a pretty storied program. They've got a lot of history to them, and I'm thinking, okay, what I'm used to at Michigan, there's a lot of people there. It's a big school. They're in the ACC, and I go there, and there's hardly anyone there. I'd seen Miami once before, play Duke on the road. So this was my first. It wasn't my first time seeing Miami play. It was my first time seeing Miami play in Miami, which they apparently is in Miami Gardens, Florida. Is Miami? Maybe you know. I'm not a professor in geography. Is Miami Gardens and the city of Miami, is that separate? If you know, let me know in the comments. But according to what I looked up, where Hard Rock Stadium is in Miami Gardens, which is interesting because that's, from my understanding, a little bit off campus. It's not like it's right in campus. The campus is kind of a little ways away. So I'm guessing that might be kind of hard to recruit players when the football stadium's off campus like that. Although it is Miami, it's beautiful. They do have a history there. I mean, some good players have come from Miami, so maybe it's not that hard to recruit. In my mind, I'm thinking it could be um, that. Yeah, that they're in Miami, and I think Miami's a private school too, if I remember correctly. Anyways, um, so yeah, they were dominant for a while there, and that's what I remembered. So I was very surprised when I didn't see a full house. I'll put it that way. And since then, they've had some good years. Actually, did recently see them last football season play at Cal and come back down like 35 to, I don't know, 14 or something like that. I don't even remember. They were down a lot and came back in the second half and won under Cam Ward, who just recently uh, got drafted number one overall in this year's NFL draft. Um, so they've had some years where they have been pretty good, and now with NIL, I think they have that ability to be able to recruit and pay players pretty good and get some good recruits. Um, but they've had good, but they've also had some disappointing years, and they were down too. I'm sure Miami fans probably do desire to be a championship level team. That's what I would think, anyways. That's what I think in my mind when I think Miami. I do think of a school, even when they're down. To me, when they are down, it's kind of surprising. Like I do, because I remember them as a teenager being a powerhouse for a while. They were. I feel like there's been these teams that have come and go with their powerhouse eras. Miami was one of the ones that I remember, and then went from there to like maybe Oklahoma, USC, Bama with Alabama with the longest stretch there. Clemson had theirs. Georgia's recently had a couple, years. Um, so Miami was one of the first ones that I can go back to. Remember when I started following college football? They are referred to as the U because of this little. Well, I mean that's just part of it. But it's funny because everyone's got the word university in there, and it's not like the U is Utah. You think if anyone's going to be the U, it might be Utah, the state that actually starts uh, with the letter U. From my understanding of why it came about, there's University of Michigan that goes by U of M, and I think they probably do have a longer history than Miami. I'm sure Miami does go back quite a ways, but and then University of Miami, which could be also a U of M college. But you can't have two U of M's if you say U of M, who you're referring to at that point. So I think to distinguish themselves from University of Michigan, they came up with the U. And University of Miami fans are players, they kind of put their hands like this. They touch their thumbs, put their fingers up, and they make a U, and they call themselves the U. If you didn't know that, now you know something. They're affectionately referred to as the U. They call themselves that. They refer to it a lot. They have an interesting mascot. Sebastian, I believe is his name. He is an ibis. Didn't realize that that was a bird until recently. Um, I'll be honest, thing looks like a duck to me, maybe a swan, but I didn't realize it was an ibis. Didn't even know what an ibis was. Um, I I guess that kind of can relate to a hurricane. I mean, I get the word hurricane because they live, Miami is right there on the coast and they get hurricanes. Where the bird comes into play, I don't know, to be honest with you. Sure, there's some sort of reason for that. If you know, you can let me know. And uh, and then just going back to Miami and they've had their ups and downs. Some years, this past year, they did pretty good. They've had some down years. The year that I went and saw them in 2015, that ended up being their third loss of the season. They did have another one, so they went 8-4. They started off like 3-0. Ended up finishing the regular season 8-4, and then losing to Washington State in the bowl game that they played. Um, as regards Clemson, they ended up going undefeated, making the college football playoff, winning against Oklahoma, but then losing to Alabama in the national championship game. They've had their game. They've had quite a few games against Bama. There's games that they've won, and there's games that they lost. This was one of the ones that they lost. Well, that year, I should say. I'm just referring to, not the game I went to. I do have a friend that lives in Houston. When I lived in Houston for 5 years, he originally was from Miami, and he was a Hurricanes fan too. And I do remember playing NCAA football together with him. And there was times that we played as Michigan, and then there was times that we played as Miami. And I say we, as in we played. We didn't play against each other. We played on the same team. I always thought that was pretty fun. Um, and he was a Miami Hurricanes fan. Not sure. I don't get to talk with him as much. Um, Hopefully he's doing well. And I'm not sure if he still follows college football or if he still likes Miami, Florida. One day I'll have to reach out to him. Maybe I'll send him this podcast too. Anyways, so yeah, that was my experience with the Miami Hurricanes. Had a fun time. They got blown out. I mean, I didn't have a dog in the fight. I was a Miami Hurricanes fan for a day, and that was kind of disappointing. They get blown out 58-0, but I was still excited to go see them, and I'm glad that I did. And then the next day again saw the Miami Dolphins, which that'll be on a separate podcast. But if you would like to go see the Miami Hurricanes or go down to Miami, see a Dolphins game, go on a cruise, go on vacation. Miami can be a vacation spot, even if you're not going on a cruise. There's plenty of nice uh, nightlife and a nice scene down in Miami. If you want to go on vacation, please let me know. Again, there's a couple ways that you can reach out to me. One of them is through social media. Jay's Paradise Travels is the name of my Instagram and Facebook account. On there, you'll see some pictures of my travels as well. So you can feel free to message me through social media, JAYS, Jay's Paradise Travels. Or you can reach out to me through email. My email address is j.paradise_travels@gmail.com. JAY.paradise_travels@gmail.com. Feel free to shoot me an email and we can touch base and I can help you with a vacation. Thank you for tuning in again to this week's episode. If you did like this video, please, I ask that you like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others too. Trying to get my name out to other people and be your travel agent and be other people's travel agent and help make this world a happier place, one vacation at a time. So please feel free to like, rate, subscribe, share, all that stuff. All those things that help a podcaster keep their podcast going, as well as, again, for my own business that I'm running with it, I would love to be your personal travel agent. So once again, thank you for listening today, and I'll talk to you again later. Take care. Bye-bye.